grew up in a house where my mom and dad had a very good marriage. I never have seen my parents really get into it that much or fight or argue about anything.
So before I met Mason, I grew up in a Christian home in Salem, Arkansas. I really admired my dad when I was growing up, and I always knew that I wanted somebody who was just like my dad, who had the qualities of my dad, who could be funny and quirky, but also, very mature in his faith and strong-willed and just hardworking. And so I had prayed for a very long time that the Lord would just bring me somebody that had the same qualities as my dad.
I came to Williams Baptist not knowing anybody except a couple of the professors. I was looking more for the purpose of I need a friend. So then I got to Williams, and in the Manley Chapel, I looked over during a new student orientation weekend, and I saw this a brunette girl over there, and I was like, okay, she looks nice. We'll see. And then we got into our group meeting, and we were introducing herself, and she said that she was from a little town of Salem, Arkansas. So I immediately got out my phone and Googled where Salem, Arkansas was, and that she was in the worship team, and that she played saxophone in the band. Well, I'm in band. I play trumpet, and so I said, okay.
As our freshman year went on, we obviously had classes together, and so we had music appreciation together, and we ended up sitting next to each other because we both have W last names, Woody and Wills, so of course they set us in alphabetical order.
Well, then I get into my first class, and our last names were right beside each other, and she's sitting right beside me, and I said, okay, this is a strong set of coincidences here that this girl keeps finding right beside me. And so then I go to band that afternoon, and she's seated right beside me on the back row. And so I began to notice her more. And our love story, I guess, actually begins because of my socks. So one day we're sitting in our class, and she's like, hey, I like your socks. And I look over, and she's wearing some socks with some fruit on it. And I was like, nobody who's anything wears fruit socks, joking around with her. Well, then I found myself that night buying some fruit socks. And so it kind of went on, our relationship progressed. We always wanted to seek Christ in everything that we did.
We started dating, and then of course COVID-19 hit, and that was very hard on our relationship. We were separate sides of the state, me up in the north central side of Arkansas, and then him all the way down in South Arkansas. So it was really hard for us to be intentional with our relationship and get that time together that we needed to. So we ended up, just kind of calling it off, and we were like, if it's God's will, then we'll end up back together at some point. So after we came back after the COVID year, we just started up again with our friendship and just tried to make sure that God wanted this and that it was truly His will for us to be together. And so we prayed a long time about it, and I knew that He was the one, just because I started seeing the qualities of Him being very hardworking, and Him, being silly and making me laugh. And so I knew then, after we had come back from the COVID year, that I wanted to marry Mason.
My grandfather had just passed away, and I was sitting in my room at 3 o'clock in the morning, having just gotten the phone call, not knowing where to go, not knowing who to turn to. And I said, you know what, it's a long shot, but I'll call Jessica and see if she picks up. And so I called her, and about 15 minutes later, she was at my door, waiting on me to come out so that she could comfort me and be there for me. So then we got back together. We started going strong again, and then I decided that it was time to marry her. She finished school a year early, so I decided, you know what, we may as well get engaged and get married right now so that we can finish out in my senior year. I knew that if I didn't marry her, that there would be a lot of issues that could open up with where we were going in life. So I asked her dad, and he said yes. Asked her mom, and she said yes. So I decided to marry her. I was very upfront with her with my intention to get married to her. So I said, basically, where do you want this to happen at? And her only stipulation, because she knows me, is not on the Williams Baptist campus, because everybody being at a Christian college, everybody does it in one of our 2 chapels on the Williams campus or out in the gazebo out in front of the administration building. That's where everybody does it. And so she wanting to be different, said not on the Williams Baptist campus. So I went on a mission to drive around Walnut Ridge and Paragould and Jonesboro. Every spare moment that I had, I was looking for a spot. We'd walked our dog, Bumble, several times at the Walnut Ridge Park, and we always kind of admired the gazebo out over the pond there. And so I said, okay, this is where I'm going to do it. I found my spot. I called both of our families, asked them to be there. I called a lot of our friends, asked them to be there. And it was the most emotional day that I've ever had, I think, in my life. I just sat there shaking all day. Not from fear of her saying no, but because I knew that I'd finally found the woman that I was supposed to marry, and that this was really happening, and that I was really going to get married.
I knew it was kind of coming, but I also didn't know it was coming. My friends had taken me out that day to get my nails done, and I just had I was like, that's interesting, and I knew that there was just some little hints here and there that it was coming. And so when he asked me to go on a date that night, I just dressed up and was prepared. If it was going to happen that day, then it was going to happen.
So then that night came. On our way there, I stopped to get gas or something, trying to throw her off the scent of why I was driving into Walnut Ridge. I'd said that we were going to go on a date to Jonesboro that night. I'd given her some kind of a plan, because that's what she wanted. It was a Valentine's Day weekend, so that was February 12th of 2022. And so then we left the gas station. I said, I think I'm going to take the scenic route. We're going to go through Paragould.
So we got to the park, and I saw my family off in the distance, and he even made the comment, you know what's going on? And so he took me up to the bridge.
And it was right at sunset, and I got out and I walked her out to the bridge, and I told her that I loved her. I read a Bible verse out of Proverbs that says, he who's found a wife has found a good thing, and he's obtained favor from the Lord. And then I got down on one knee and I asked her to spend the rest of her life with me.
I was just, overjoyed with emotion of excitement and about our future and about our marriage. And it was just a very special moment to have all of our friends and family there. And so continuing on in the year, we planned a wedding throughout the summer, and I started a new job, and he was still working and going to school at Williams. And so we planned a wedding through all of that, and it was very exciting and special to get to do that together. And we got married on October 15th of 2022. It was a very special day. There was a lot of emotions, mostly happy emotions, but it was just a very special day for us to have all of our family and friends there to celebrate with us and just to start this new chapter of life together.
The Apostle Paul writes that a husband is supposed to love his wife how Jesus loves his own bride, which is the church, so people who know Christ. And that is to sacrifice for her and love her without any restraints, And so I was always shown that as a kid. I was always taught that, but I never really understood it until I got married to Jessica. I really don't think that I really understood how much Christ loved me until I became engaged and then married to Jessica, just to see how much sacrifice and love that you have to make in a human marriage relationship. And even when she says something that she shouldn't, or she makes me angry, or I do the same thing tenfold, we both have to forgive one another. I guess that's really shown me Christ's mercy on me, and how ever since I've known him, Since I was 7, I've messed up time and time and time and time again, and yet He still forgives me. So the blessings that I've seen since I've been married is that I get to serve alongside my best friend. It's absolutely awesome to be in now a husband and wife relationship where we can live life. I'm a student pastor, and so it's awesome to just be able to live life with our students and see how she interacts them and how God orchestrated us to be together for this ministry right now. Just getting to live life with the woman that I love is my second greatest blessing, right behind salvation.
So, you read throughout the Bible about, God's intention for marriage and how, He wants it to be special and, He wants it to obviously be His will. And, just trying to find those qualities in your husband or your wife, you look for those things that, He obviously puts God first, and that He is the leader of the household, and that He, leads our relationship with the Lord, but also has His own relationship with the Lord. And those are just qualities that I looked for in a husband. And I think, seeing the biblical side of marriage and then looking at ours, I hope that we are a representation of what biblical marriage is supposed to be. We love the Lord first off, and so you have to have that relationship with the Lord and love the Lord and realize how much He loves you and how much He sacrifices for you. And then look at your marriage and say, obviously the Lord is first in our marriage, and once He's first in your marriage, then your marriage should go pretty, smoothly, just because you have that relationship with the Lord. You're putting Him first. You're doing the right steps to make sure that your marriage is strong and it's in Christ and not in the worldly things. And so I think that, love and sacrifice is a big part of marriage, and when you're looking at it from a biblical stand. And also, it's a strong testimony when you can say, I love the Lord so much and I love Him more than my husband, but I love, my husband's right after him, kind of thing. So you have to prioritize your relationship with God in your husband.